All right. Thank you guys again for coming. This is Mr. Zawacki, and today we're going to be talking about the third edition for reviewing for the biology EOC, mainly covering what's in Module 2 with cells, photosynthesis, and cellular respiration, but also a little bit of Module 3 with the cell cycle. All right. Starting off, the cell theory, what that is, very simply is just the three facts that scientists have come up with over, many years that concludes what cells are about. First of all, they're the basic unit of life. So the smallest unit that makes life is a cell. They come from other existing cells. Remember, they're made by mitosis or meiosis. And all organisms, all living things, are composed of cells. There are two main types of cells. Every cell on Earth is either prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Prokaryotic is very simple, whereas eukaryotic is much bigger and complex. Prokaryotic has no nucleus. Eukaryotic does. It has a membrane-bound nucleus. Prokaryotic has no membrane-bound organelles, but a eukaryotic cell does have membrane-bound organelles. Prokaryotic pretty much just includes bacteria. Eukaryotic cells includes everything else: protists, fungus, plants, animals. So you should definitely know the difference between those two types of cells. Just think prokaryotic is very small, simple, like a bacteria cell. Eukaryotic is much bigger, like plants or animal cells. We will be going over the organelles. There's more than 6, but here's 6 to get started. Chloroplast is one of the organelles. It does photosynthesis. Mitochondria is another organelle that does cellular respiration. You got to know those for sure. Ribosomes are the smallest organelle. They help build protein. Vacuoles help with storage, so they store things like water or nutrients. And we know what the nucleus is. That contains our DNA, and it really controls everything. It's the brain of the cell. And the nucleolus is the center of the nucleus where ribosomes are formed. And then on the bottom, sorry, I got cut off just a little bit. We should also know about plant and animal cells. Plant cells have a cell wall. Animal cells will never have a cell wall. Plant cells have chloroplasts and also plastids. Animal cells do not have that. Plant has one large vacuole. Animal cells, they have vacuoles too, but they're much smaller. We'll just know the difference between plant and animal cells as well. They're pretty similar, but a plant cell will have a cell wall and chloroplasts, where an animal cell will not. And the vacuoles are a little bit different as well. All right, so we're going to start this with the polling. Let me just set that up. A through D. All right, so you're going to use the little letter A above my name, or in between my two names, and you're going to choose A, B, C, or D. So it says the cell theory was first proposed in 1838. Evidence obtained through additional scientific investigations resulted in the current cell theory. So which statement describes a component of the original cell theory that was removed because of new scientific knowledge? So what do you guys think? Use the poll for A, B, C, or D. Give you guys about 20 seconds. All right, we got 4 A's and 4 C's. Let's see. 5 A's and 5 C's. Uh-oh, we're split. So let's see. Which statement describes a component of the original cell theory that was removed because of new scientific knowledge? Well, all living things are made of cells. That's true to even today, so it can't be that one. All cells come from other pre-existing cells. That's also true today. Cells are the basic structure and function units of life. That's also true. So all those three are true. So the only one that was removed is this one. They form through spontaneous generation. All that means is they pop out of nowhere, which we know is not true. They come from other cells. So the correct answer for this one would be C. Okay? And when I attach the PowerPoints, there's also a video on the cell theory if you'd like to watch it. All right. So you also need to know not just about cells themselves, but you need to know, the organelles that are found inside the cell. And you can see here that animal and plant cells are pretty similar, right? They have a lot of things in common, like ribosomes and the nucleus and the mitochondria and the cell membrane, which is also called the plasma membrane. It's the same thing. They both have Golgi apparatus. But an animal cell will have one huge vacuole where an animal cell will not. A plant cell will have chloroplast where an animal cell will not. And a plant cell will have a cell wall where an animal cell will not either. Animal cells do have centrioles also that plant cells do not have. So just looking at the differences again, we know the main differences, but this is just showing you visually. Plant cells and animal cells are pretty similar, but plant cells will have a chloroplast and a cell wall. Animal cells will never have those. Also, plant cells will have a vacuole in the center. Animal cells have them too, but they're much smaller. And animal cells will have centrioles, and plant cells will not. So it's good to know, first of all, what they look like. So make sure you know what the organelles look like in the cell. But you also need to know what they do. And I'm going to check off the ones that are important for the EOC, which is most of these. You got to know the cell wall. That's just for protection or support. You need to know the cell membrane, which is just the outer layer. It decides what passes in and out of the cell. You need to know the nucleus. That's the brain of the cell. It directs also protein synthesis. Nucleolus, that's the center of the nucleus, and it makes ribosomes. You need to know about the ER, endoplasmic reticulum. It can be rough or smooth, right here. If it's rough, it has ribosomes. If it's smooth, it does not have ribosomes. If it's rough, it makes protein. If it's smooth, it makes lipids. You also need to know about the Golgi apparatus. Those are just like little stacks, little membrane stacks inside the cell. That acts like your FedEx or UPS. It packages things and forms vesicles and sends them in and out of the cell. So it literally is like a packaging and distributing area. Vesicles are just a general term. Vesicles are just sacs of whatever found inside the cell. Lysosome is very similar to the stomach of the cell because it digests macromolecules. Peroxisome you don't really need to know, but it breaks down fatty acids, it breaks down lipids. The central vacuole is found only in plant cells because that stores water and sugars. Mitochondria is a very important one. That one is mainly used for cellular respiration and makes energy for the cell. So that's an important one to know. That's the main organelle for cellular respiration. Also, chloroplast is an important one to know because that one is where photosynthesis is done in plant cells only. Cytoskeleton is just the skeleton or the structural framework of the cell. Cilia and flagella are like little tails or little hairs. Cilia are like hairs that move. Flagella is like a tail that moves. And centrioles you don't really need to know, but they help with cell division and also assemble little microtubules inside the cell as well. But you need to know all the ones I have a check mark on, and you definitely need to know the ones that I'm starring. So no mitochondria, chloroplast, nucleus, know also the cell membrane and what it does. Really just anything with the check marker star, make sure you know about for sure. Know what they look like on a cell and know what they do. And then you will definitely be good with the organelles. They're not too difficult. Once you know what they look like and what they do, you'll be fine. All right, here's another poll, A, B, C, or D. There are some similarities between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Remember, these are the only two cells on Earth. Which of the following structures is found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? So A, B, C, or D, found in both, not plant and animal, but both prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So I'll give you guys 20 seconds to try to figure that one out. And I'll give you a hint. The answer is not B. Give you guys about 20 more seconds to choose an answer. All right, let's take a look. Going back a few things here. Remember, prokaryotic, eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic, very simple. Prokaryotic, no nucleus. Eukaryotic has a nucleus. Prokaryotic has no membrane-bound organelles either. Eukaryotic does. Prokaryotic just includes bacteria. So you got to think of very simple cell. And going back to this question, what's found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? Well, we know it's not the nucleus because only eukaryotic cells have that. Mitochondria is a membrane-bound organelle. Prokaryotic cells don't even have those. So now it's down to lysosomes or ribosomes. So lysosomes are the stomach of the cell, and they digest things. Prokaryotic cells don't even have that. Remember how simple they are? If you were to draw a prokaryotic cell, all you would draw are little dots everywhere, which are your ribosomes, and you would draw the DNA, which is just, all over the place in the cell. Maybe it'll have a flagella. That's it. That's what a prokaryotic cell looks like. So they do have the cell membrane in common, they have DNA in common, and they also have ribosomes in common. That's really it. Everything else prokaryotic cells do not have. So your answer is ribosomes, found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So good job for the 4 who got that one. All right, moving on. Then we learned about cellular transport. This is just means things traveling in and out of the cell. Your plasma membrane or cell membrane controls homeostasis. Your body always wants to be in homeostasis, which just simply means that everything is normal. So that's what your cells try to do. They try to make you normal, and that's what homeostasis is. What the cell membrane looks like, it's a phospholipid bilayer with gates inside. So here is a picture of your cell membrane, at least the outside of it. Here are the 2 phospholipid bilayers. So if you zoom in on them, it looks like this. Here's one, here's two. So it's a phospholipid bilayer, and these big things right here are proteins. So proteins help things go in and out of the cell. The phospholipid bilayer just repels or attracts water. And it's also a selectively permeable boundary, which means only certain things can go in and out of the cell. Now there are certain ways, there are a couple different ways on how things can go in and out of the cell. First of all, there is passive transport. If it's passive, that means there's no energy needed. Think of the word passive. Very easy, so there's no energy required. Diffusion is one of those examples. Substances move from a high to low concentration against their gradient. Perfect example of diffusion is when you spray cologne or perfume. It diffuses out from a high concentration to a lower concentration. So when you think diffusion, think like spraying cologne or perfume. Osmosis is the same exact thing, except not particles, but water. That's where water goes from a high concentration to a low concentration. Facilitated diffusion is the same thing as this, but it's facilitated. That means it needs a little bit of help. And the help is with a protein. And then the other type of transport, passive, is no energy. Active transport means energy. And that's where they go the opposite way. They go from a low concentration to a high concentration. So imagine spraying a bottle of cologne and trying to get all those particles back into the bottle. Very, very hard. That would be active transport, which requires energy to do so. The other three are passive, which means they don't require energy to do so. So again, diffusion is just particles from a high to low concentration. Osmosis is the same thing, but water moving from a high to low concentration. Facilitated diffusion is also the same thing, but with the help of a protein. Here's a good picture here. This is our cell membrane. This is outside. This is inside the cell. Diffusion is just particles going from a high to low concentration. We know that. Facilitated diffusion is the same exact thing, right? But it's the help of a protein here. And active transport is the opposite. That's where you go from a low to a high concentration. So you need help. You need energy, which is ATP, in order to do that. So know about diffusion, know about facilitated diffusion. They're the same thing, just facilitated is help with a protein. Know about active transport, where it goes from low to high concentration, much harder to do, so it requires energy. And finally, know about osmosis. And these are the three types of solutions you can get with osmosis. And I'll explain it very easily. This one, isotonic, means equal. Iso, equal. Everything is normal. Same amount of water going out versus the same amount of water coming in. Everything is equal in isotonic. If it's hypotonic, I want you to look at this letter O right here. If it's hypotonic, water is going in and the cell is swelling like a big letter O. Hypertonic, look at that letter E there. The cell now is much smaller, almost looks like the letter E. Not really, but it's shriveled though. And water is going out of the cell for that. So those are the three types of osmosis you need to know. Isotonic is very easy. Iso means equal, so water is, moving at the same rate in and out of the cell. That's where your body should be. If it's hypotonic, that means water is moving into your cells, and your cells are swelling. If it's hypertonic, water is moving out of your cells, which means it's shriveled. If you ever go in water and your fingers look shriveled over time, it's because water is moving out of the cells in order to try to make everything balanced and equal of the water that you're in. That's why your cells look shriveled, because it's a hypertonic solution and water is moving out. So those are just the 3 types of osmosis. So make sure you know that and what's happening for each of those as well. Here's one more picture, a really good picture of your cell membrane again. Remember, here's the protein, so that allows things to travel in or out of the cell. Here are your phospholipid bilayer. Here's one, and here's the other one. You also need to know carbohydrates, too. These just act like little markers. They tell the cell what's located there. It's like a little flag or a little marker. But that's really what our cell membrane looks like. Everything that surrounds all trillions of our cells look like this if you were able to zoom in on it. The phospholipid bilayer, the protein able for transport, and carbohydrates, which stick out like little hairs or little flags, notify what's there. All right, so switching gears into lesson 301. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but this is where you learned about the cell cycle. This is just a repetitive cycle that cells go through in their life. We have trillions of cells in our body right now, and every single one of them goes through 3 stages and repeats going through those 3 stages. They are interphase, mitosis, which is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. Again, interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, that's step 2, which is mitosis, and then cytokinesis. And it keeps repeating that. It doesn't stop. It goes through those repetitively. Some other terms you might need to know: haploid versus diploid. Haploid is half or one set of chromosomes. Think of haploid as half. That would be 23 human chromosomes. Diploid is the full set, so that's 1. And one full set of chromosomes would be 46 chromosomes. So haploid is half the number. That only involves in reproductive cells. Diploid is the full number. All of our cells have 46 chromosomes except for our reproductive cells. Mitosis is that stage, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, that creates diploid cells for the purpose of tissue repair or growth. And here, up top, is what a chromosome looks like. So this X-shaped structure is a chromosome. Some other vocabulary, though: if you were to look at each half, this is a chromatid. This is also a chromatid. So each chromosome is 2 chromatids. A gene is a little piece of a chromatid, and a centromere holds everything together. That's important vocabulary that I hope we all know. The chromosome looks like just an X. Chromatids are each half of that X. A gene is located on a piece of the chromatid, and the centromere holds everything together. If you look down here at a plant going through the cell cycle, well, this first stage here is interphase. This is interphase. This is still interphase, where the cell is growing, making copies of everything, growing more. Then it goes through prophase, where the chromosomes disappear, or the nucleus disappears, and the chromosomes up here. Metaphase, where the chromosomes align in the middle. Anaphase, where they pull apart. Telophase, where they begin to separate fully and begin to divide. And then you have telophase / cytokinesis, and then you have cytokinesis, where the cells break into two. And then once these two cells that are just made, then they'll go back into interphase and do the whole thing over again. That's what the cell cycle is all about. It's just simply the cell growing, making copies of everything, and then quickly dividing all those copies up to make another cell. That's what the cell cycle is all about. But you need to know interphase, mitosis, and cytokinesis. And you need to know the parts that go with that. Okay, so here's another just visual representation. Here's your cell cycle right here. Remember? This whole part here, about 80 to 90% of the cell cycle, all of this is just interphase. Interphase is G1, S, and G2. G1 is where the cellular components and contents are duplicated. S is where the chromosomes get duplicated. G2 is where everything's growing and getting ready to divide. And then very quickly, it'll go through mitosis with prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Here's prophase. Here's metaphase. Here's anaphase. And here's telophase. And then finally, cytokinesis, where the cells break off into two identical cells. So again, we explained it here. We're looking at a picture of it here. This is just the cell cycle, the repetitive cycle that cells go through in their life. They will first go through interphase, where they grow and copy everything. Then they'll go through mitosis, where the chromosomes and nucleus pull apart. And then cytokinesis, where the cells break apart, and then those cells will go back into interphase. Throw a little curveball here. Mitosis is very similar to meiosis, but they're also different. Remember, mitosis is regular body cells making more regular body cells. But meiosis are reproductive cells making more reproductive cells. Their cell division creates, instead of 2 cells, they create 4 haploid cells called gametes. Instead of going through prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase one time, meiosis goes through it twice, and it calls it meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And there's some special events that happen only in meiosis. In the first prophase, the X's cross over right here. That's how they share genetic information. Metaphase 1, the pairs line up. That's what gets them separated into half during anaphase 1. When you look at the second meiosis, everything looks the same as mitosis. But to kind of summarize, in case you guys are not following me, mitosis and meiosis, they're both processes of cells dividing and making more cells. That's true. But mitosis is regular body cells, making more of them. Meiosis are cells that are being made only for reproductive purposes. So the only cells that do meiosis in animals are either sperm or egg cells only. And instead of going through the process once, they go through the process twice. Instead of coming out with 2 identical cells, they make 4 different cells. And instead of being the full amount of chromosomes, they're only half the amount of chromosomes because they're used for reproduction. Here we go again. This is just comparing the two. Okay? DNA replication is the same. Number of divisions, though, 1 versus 2. Homologous chromosomes do not occur here, but meiosis, it does. That's what splits them in half. Number of daughter cells, we got 2 identical cells here, but we have 4 different cells here. And the role in the animal body, mitosis is just for growth and repair. Meiosis are for sexual reproduction, making gametes for those. So again, know the processes and definitely know how they're different. All right, let's do another polling question, A, B, C, or D. Let's see how we do. Mitosis and meiosis are processes involved in cellular reproduction. Which of the following describes an event that results from mitosis but not meiosis? A, B, C, or D? Think about it. What is mitosis but not meiosis? Give you guys about 20 more seconds. All right, it looks like we got this one. 2 stages of cell division, that's meiosis. Replication of cellular genetic material, that's both. 4 daughter cells, that's also meiosis. The only one that's mitosis but not meiosis is C. Daughter cells are identical in mitosis but not meiosis. Remember, they're different cells. So you put C. Looks like all 10 of us did. Great job. That is correct. Also, there's a video of mitosis and meiosis that I will attach with this PowerPoint. All right, last couple things of the day, guys. Photosynthesis, which is 205, and cellular respiration, which is 206. Actually, 205 is cellular respiration, 206 is photosynthesis. So, looking at photosynthesis, guys, a couple things you need to know. It's done by producers. It's done in the chloroplast of the cell. That's what this is. This is a chloroplast. This is where photosynthesis is done. And you need to know the equation as well. And the equation is not hard. You don't need to memorize all the, like the 6CO2 and 6H2O, but you should know that carbon dioxide, water go in along with energy, and glucose and oxygen come out. So the word equation is the same thing as the other equation. Word equation is carbon dioxide, water, and energy will create glucose and oxygen. It's the same thing, guys. So that's absolutely something you should memorize off the top of your head. Photosynthesis is done by plants. It's done in the chloroplast of the plant. And carbon dioxide, water, and energy are needed to do this. And then glucose and oxygen are the 2 products that are made. Again, you know that photosynthesis is done by plants. It's done in the chloroplast of the plant. And you should know the equation. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy go in. Glucose and oxygen go out. These little parts here, thylakoid and stroma, are just different parts of the chloroplast. The thylakoid are these stacks of, like, looks like discs or pennies. The thylakoid is where the light reaction takes place, 1/2 of photosynthesis. And the stroma, this area in here, that's where the dark reaction takes place, the other half of photosynthesis. So 100% of photosynthesis is done in the chloroplast, but 50% of it is done by the thylakoid, 50% of it is done by the stroma. That's where you get the 2 parts of photosynthesis. Okay? And on the other side of that, cellular respiration, which is done by both plants and animals, they break down food to release its energy. And this energy is then stored as ATP. ATP is our unit of energy. And there are 3 parts to our unit of energy. There's an adenine, a ribose sugar, and 3 phosphates. Here's your adenine. Here's your ribose sugar. And here's your 3 phosphates. Here, here, and here. That right there, guys, is your unit of energy. Without that, you'd be dead. But you have ATP and plenty of ATP to give yourself energy. And how you make energy is by doing cellular respiration. Overall equation, you should definitely know. It's the same thing as the word equation. You need glucose and oxygen to go in, and that will create carbon dioxide, water, and 38 units of ATP. Look at this. And I think we should already know this, but the equations are absolutely backwards. Carbon dioxide, water, energy goes in to photosynthesis. Glucose and oxygen comes out. With cellular respiration, glucose and oxygen go in. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy are the 3 things that go out. So they are absolutely opposites to one another. And so if you can memorize one of the equations, you got both, because you just have to turn the other one backwards. And when cellular respiration is done, it could be aerobic with oxygen or anaerobic with no oxygen. Aerobic, though, is better, because with oxygen, you can make 38 ATPs for every single reaction. Anaerobic, with no oxygen, you can still get ATP, but not as much. There are 3 steps of aerobic cellular respiration: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. With cellular respiration that's anaerobic, there's still glycolysis, but then there's fermentation. How sometimes alcohol is made, or what your muscles go through, lactic acid fermentation, that's without oxygen. So it will still create energy, but not as much. Glycolysis is the first step of both, and that happens in the cytoplasm. If no oxygen is present, then remember it does fermentation. But if there is oxygen present, then it'll do the Krebs cycle second, and the electron transport chain third. And this all happens in the mitochondria. So again, guys, what you need to know about cellular respiration, it happens in both plants and animals. It happens in either the cytoplasm or the mitochondria. Cytoplasm is for step 1. Step 2 and step 3 are for the mitochondria. And we should know the equation. Remember, glucose and oxygen go in. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy are the 3 things that go out. And I got one more question for you guys. A, B, C, or D. This will close it out for the day. The diagram below shows the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. So which statement describes how photosynthesis and cellular respiration, how are they interrelated? Is it A, B, C, or D? Well, let's look, guys. This is right here. This is the chloroplast. This is photosynthesis up top. So we know carbon dioxide and water are going in to photosynthesis, and they create glucose and oxygen. Here, this is a mitochondria, an energy. So we have cellular respiration down here. Glucose and oxygen are going in to cellular respiration, which creates water and carbon dioxide. So is oxygen produced during cellular respiration? Well, let's go back and check. Here's cellular respiration. Oxygen is right here. It is not produced. It is needed. So this one is not right. A is not correct. Oxygen is produced. Remember, guys, plants produce oxygen. So that would be done during photosynthesis. We don't produce oxygen. So cellular respiration does not produce oxygen. What about B? Carbon dioxide and water are released by cellular respiration. Is that true? Yeah, look right here. Carbon dioxide and water are released by cellular respiration and are used in photosynthesis. So that one's probably true. Does photosynthesis release energy that is stored during the process of cellular respiration? No, we make energy. So that's not right. And is glucose used during cellular respiration to produce food that is broken down during photosynthesis? No, plants don't take in food. They just take in water, carbon dioxide, and energy. So for that one person who put the letter B, you are correct. It is the letter B for sure. Here's another picture of it, guys. Remember, photosynthesis has energy, water, and carbon dioxide all going in. Glucose and oxygen are the two things that come out. But they're also the two things that go in to cellular respiration. And then the three things that come out are carbon dioxide, water, and ATP energy. So if you missed that question, it's okay. It is one of the trickiest parts of biology, but you're also going to see 5, 6, 7 questions of this on the EOC. So main things, guys, just know the basics. With photosynthesis, it's done by plants in the chloroplast of the plant. And carbon dioxide, water, and energy go in, glucose and oxygen come out. Cellular respiration is just the opposite. Glucose and oxygen go in, and carbon dioxide, water, and energy are the three things that go out. So that's something you guys definitely want to look over. But that's it for today. We are all finished. If you guys have any questions about the review packet, hopefully you're working on at least pages 1 through 4 of that. Let me know. I can give you some answers on the bottom. Otherwise, thank you guys again for coming. I hope you learned more about the cell, prokaryotic, eukaryotic cells. I hope you learned about the different organelles of the cell transport, cell cycle, and along with photosynthesis and cellular respiration. So that's a good chunk of what you're going to see on the exam. So thank you guys again for coming. You guys are free to go. If you came in late, just let me know, and we will see you next time.